I still remember the moment my world shattered like glass. My husband, the man I'd built my life with for 12 long years, had emptied our joint bank account, every last cent, and vanished with his secretary. I didn't believe it at first. I thought there had to be some mistake, some kind of misunderstanding. But then the bank statement arrived, and the zero balance glared back at me like a cruel joke. It felt like the universe had punched me straight in the gut. And the worst part? When I finally got a call from him weeks later, the police were the ones who picked up the phone. Tell me, if you were in my place, what would you have done? The story really starts months before that phone call. My husband, Ethan, and I had what most people would call a perfect marriage. At least that's what it looked like on the outside. We'd been together since college. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of man who could make a room light up just by walking into it. I was the steady one. The planner, the one who handled the bills, packed the lunches, made sure birthdays were remembered and anniversaries celebrated. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had dreams of buying a little cabin by the lake someday, maybe starting our own small business. That's what love does to you, it makes you believe you're a team. But little by little, Ethan began to change. It started with late nights at the office. Then urgent business trips popped up out of nowhere. He started guarding his phone like it contained state secrets. When I'd ask him what was going on, he'd sigh and say, "God, Emily, can you please stop being so paranoid?" That word, paranoid, became his favorite weapon. I wanted to trust him. I really did. So, I convinced myself I was imagining things. I told myself every marriage hits rough patches. Then came her. Natalie. His secretary. She was younger, prettier, and had that look of someone who had never worried about a bill in her life. I met her once at a company dinner, and she smiled that fake, syrupy smile women give when they know something you don't. The way she looked at him, the way he brushed it off, it all made sense later. But at that dinner, I just smiled back and told myself to be mature. A few weeks later, I noticed the money withdrawals. Small at first, $200 here, $300 there. Then $1,000. When I asked Ethan, he said he was investing in something, a business opportunity. I wanted to believe him. I kept telling myself he's my husband. He wouldn't lie to me. But deep down, something in me had already started to die. Then one Friday he didn't come home. No text, no call. Just gone. I waited up all night, staring at my phone until the screen went dark. By morning, I called his office. His boss said he'd taken personal leave. My stomach dropped. I rushed to the bank, thinking maybe something happened, maybe he was in trouble. The teller looked up at me with pity when she told me the account had been completely emptied. All $78,000, our savings, our mortgage money, our son's college fund gone. That was the day I stopped crying and started planning. The first thing I did was file a police report. They told me they'd look into it, but I could tell they'd seen this story before. A husband runs off, a wife left with nothing. But I wasn't just another victim. I started digging. I found out he'd quit his job the day before he disappeared. I tracked his phone records and saw multiple calls to a hotel 3 towns over. When I drove there, the front desk clerk remembered him and Natalie. They'd stayed there for 3 nights under fake names. That's when I knew this wasn't a breakdown or a midlife crisis. It was betrayal, planned and deliberate. Weeks turned into months. I sold what little jewelry I had left, picked up extra shifts at work, and tried to rebuild. But the anger in me burned like wildfire. Every night, I'd sit on the couch staring at the front door, half hoping he'd walk through it, half hoping I'd never see him again. Then one evening, while scrolling through social media, I saw it. A photo of him and Natalie on a beach in Mexico. Champagne, sunglasses, smiles. His hand on her waist. I could almost hear his laugh, the same one he used when we danced in our kitchen on lazy Sunday mornings. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. That's when the switch flipped inside me. He hadn't just left me, he'd humiliated me. He'd made me look like a fool. And fools, when pushed too far, become dangerous. So that's the situation I was in. My husband had drained everything I owned, run away with his secretary, and was living like a king while I worked double shifts to pay rent. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause for a second and tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have moved on? Or would you have made him pay? Because I decided he was going to learn exactly what betrayal feels like. I started small. I still had access to some of his old email accounts, and he clearly hadn't changed all his passwords. From there, I found copies of his new fake IDs, receipts for expensive purchases, even some shady documents showing he'd been skimming money from his company before leaving. He wasn't just cheating on me, he was committing fraud. I took screenshots of everything. Then, using a VPN and a burner account, I sent anonymous tips to his former employer, the IRS, and yes, the Mexican authorities. I made sure they knew where to look. I also reached out to Natalie's ex-boyfriend. Thankfully, her Instagram was wide open, and let's just say he was very interested to know she was now involved in a possible money laundering case. Within a few weeks, Ethan's perfect paradise started to crumble. His assets were frozen. His name flagged on international records, and the resort they were staying at got a visit from law enforcement. He must have panicked because that's when he called me. It was around 2 a.m. when my phone rang. Unknown number. My heart nearly stopped. I hesitated before answering. Hello. There was silence, then a shaky voice I hadn't heard in months. Emily, it's me. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. I wanted to scream to ask him why, but all that came out was, why now? He sighed. I made a mistake, Em. I need help. They froze everything. I'm stuck here. Please, I didn't say a word. Because the person who picked up the phone after that wasn't me, it was a police officer. I handed the phone over, told them the location he was calling from, and they took it from there. I sat there, frozen, as I heard his confused voice on the other end. Wait, what's happening? Emily? Who is this? The officer calmly said. This is the federal police, Mr. Collins. We have a few questions about your financial activities. I hung up. For the first time in months, I felt peace. A few days later, I got the official notice. Ethan had been arrested for fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft. Apparently, he'd been using fake accounts to move money under other people's names. Natalie had been helping him forge documents. She was charged too. When the news broke, his family called me, begging me to help him. You're still his wife, his mother cried. You can talk to the police, tell them he's a good man. I just laughed. A good man doesn't drain his wife's life savings and run away, I said. Months later, I sat in court, watching him in his orange jumpsuit, shackled and pale. He wouldn't even look at me. When the judge asked if I had anything to say, I stood up and said, Your Honor, I just want what's fair. The judge nodded, and in the end, I got it. Our house was legally transferred to me. I was reimbursed from the remaining seized funds. And Ethan got 6 years in federal prison. Natalie took a plea deal, served a shorter sentence, and vanished after that. I heard she tried to contact him once in prison, but he refused her calls. I guess betrayal tastes bitter when it's served back. It took a long time for me to rebuild my life. 4 months, I couldn't even walk into our old bedroom without feeling that hollow ache in my chest. But as time passed, I started to heal. I went back to school, got a degree in finance, and began helping other women who'd been financially abused by their partners. There's something poetic about that, turning pain into power. Sometimes people ask me if I ever regret what I did. And you know what? I don't. Not one bit. Because he didn't just steal my money, he stole my trust, my years, my peace. I didn't destroy him. He destroyed himself. I just lit the match and let the truth burn. So if you ever find yourself betrayed like that, if someone you love turns their back on you and walks away with everything, remember this: you don't have to get angry. Just get smart. Truth and karma are the most patient weapons in the world. And to Ethan, wherever he is now, I hope he thinks of me every time he hears a phone ring and wonders if it's the police again. Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this, and tell me in the comments what you would have done if your husband emptied your account and ran off. Would you let karma handle it, or would you make your own justice? I'll see you all in the next story.